Welcome to another episode of the CEO Pulse podcast, where you find the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Today, we're sitting down with Rilus Dana, and we're going to be talking about how you go about the professional route and then turn it into to an entrepreneur's dream. So, thanks, man, for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been a fan of the show, so it's an honor to be on it.
Thanks, man.
I feel like I've gotten to know, or at least a little peek inside some great minds that you've had on here. So it's a real treat to be on here.
Thanks, thank you. That means a lot. We have had a bunch of people here that are very, very well, experts in their areas and everything. So I'm glad to have you here. We've had a lot of people who play in the real estate world, and I think you're one of the guests. One of the first guests that are completely into something else. So I mean, I'm pretty excited to find out more about how that side is, and coming in from a professional standpoint, and actually operating as a professional entity, and then building that out. We had a brief conversation about entrepreneurship a while back, but I want to hear more about it. So.
Yeah, so I would say I'm a real estate enthusiast. Like, this community has gotten me hooked. So I met Pace actually not too long ago. I met him at another real estate event with a common friend, and he invited me to a meetup, REI meetup, and Brent Daniels was a speaker there.
Cool.
So he sucked me in, TTP. I was just like, this is great. Like, it's so refreshing, just the mentality, how they basically help their competition is what it seems like.
Yeah, it's insane.
And there was a lot of great tips I heard from Brent that day. So I've always kept, or since then, I've been following this industry because I feel like it relates to the legal industry. So by trade, I'm an attorney. I'm a probate attorney. So my main business is Dana and Associates, where I practice estate planning. But really, I got into the legal profession to get into the business of practicing law. I feel like attorneys have set the bar pretty low. Like, it's not a great experience a lot of times to hire attorneys.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? It can be a challenge trying to hire an attorney just by. I've done it on behalf of my clients. I've done it for myself. You call several places. Maybe someone answers the phone. If they do, maybe they're rude and condescending, and don't really give you the time. Then if you do, get through and meet with an attorney, then again, maybe they're rude and condescending.
Right.
And
I've seen it a few times, but yeah, I understand what you mean. So you said it's interesting. You bring that up. I mean, being an attorney, so last time we talked, you mentioned that you were looking at doing or branching out and kind of growing your practice, right? Your legal practice, and we were having a brief conversation on the operating side of things, not necessarily the legal side of things, but I think it's really, really interesting how you take a professional entity, and you were talking to me about. Sometimes, like, for example, I used to think that, if you have a professional degree, you automatically know how to run stuff. And based on our conversation, it seems to be that there's quite a gap there as far as, how to build a business and set up a business and what you look for as far as services, even though you have, that professional side of the business handled.
Yeah, so in college, I studied business management. A lot of lawyers, they study, different degrees. They study constitutional law, or
right.
what do they study? I can't think of it. Political science is a popular one, which is not really in the business world. So I remember in law school, this concept when they're talking about corporations and limited liability, like this was like, for the poli-sci majors, this was like a strange concept, where they didn't really understand the business world as much. And you get some attorneys that are so just like the academics and like to just get in the books and the cases and talk about the theory, but they're not actually down there in the trenches, getting things done. So that's kind of some of the differences. How did I get talking about that?
Well, so we were kind of trying to figure out what the experience is as far as building out the actual practice. from going from just operating as an attorney, and then.
Yeah, so the training in law school, they don't train you how to run a business. They teach you how to practice law. They teach you theories of law, really. But they don't teach you what it's like to interview an associate attorney, what it's like to manage, a paralegal, to manage a receptionist, those types of things.
So would you say that when like after you get out, you pass the bar and then you're set to go? I mean, you're kind of out there in the cold by yourself, unless you join an existing practice that's gonna take you under the wing, or how does that work on your guys' side?
I would say yes. So when I started my business, Dana and Associates, I transitioned from a family business. I transitioned out of a family business, so I had a lot of structures and systems that I actually purchased before. But still, as a new attorney, basically, I was looking for ways that I could either partner or get people to run the business side of it, and where I could meet clients and practice law and do that side. But really, there's not a lot of resources for attorneys. I'll say good resources. There are some companies.
That's surprising. Yeah.
There's some companies that practice in this space. I'll just say Wealth Counsel is one of the big ones that a lot of attorneys use. And that gives them all the documents and everything they need to practice their business. They basically spoon feed them, is how I view it. They say, here's what you need to do. Here's all the systems, and here's how it works. They have great documents and great things, but what I don't like about them is their documents are too long in some places. They take 4 pages to say what I can say in a half page. They make they make it a bigger issue, and part of that is by design, where they want to create
the illusion of
like this is complicated.
Effort.
You need me to do this.
You
see how many pages are in here. Like this is really good because it's anything under the sun is covered.
Yeah.
And don't worry that you don't understand it, because I do.
Yeah.
So,
and really, it's something that you can probably just put together in half a page and make it, a simple version of it.
Yeah, I feel like the way law is going is, there's information for free online. There's contracts and tools for free online. So we're a service-based business. To try to make it, to try to solve problems in the most efficient way.
Right.
And so I don't agree with that theory. I call it the old school. And that's what I had another client recently this week where they met with another, I'll call it an old school attorney. And so first they met with me, and they came to a speaking engagement that I did, and she's like, oh yeah, I like what you had to say, blah, blah, blah. I kind of designed a plan for her, kind of showed her what I thought it would be, and quoted a price. And she's like, all right, I'm seeing other attorneys. And
it's not you, it's me.
So I was like, okay, whatever. And I saw her again recently. So I kind of had like a smile on my face. It's like, so how'd it go?
What did you find out?
Obviously, you're back here to see me. But, and they said, yeah, they said that we weren't big enough for them, that we're not the type of clients for them. And it's made them feel inferior.
Yeah.
And I was like, how sad for this person. And, that they were, I guess, seeking out help.
Yeah.
And no, you're not, you're too small for me. You're not important.
Not a big ticket. What are you seeing any pushback? Because it sounds like you're trying to, or you're coming into an industry that's it's been settled for centuries, and it's pretty much has the ways of doing things, built in stone. So it's hard to. I'm assuming it's gonna be hard to come into an industry like that and then shift it into innovation, easier processes, or friendlier ways.
The shift's already started. I feel like the shift has started with the legal Zooms, and the do-it-yourself has really started the wave. So I feel like the shift has already started when I got into law. So I've been a lawyer for 10 years now, which is kind of crazy to say that. And even before that, while I was in school and in college, I was working at a law firm, and with always the plan of building a better mousetrap, studying it from the inside and say, okay, I want to learn all about this from the inside. I'm going to go to business school and learn the business techniques and then apply it to the legal industry. And even then, 15 years ago, you could see that attorneys are terrified. The older attorneys are terrified of the internet and the LegalZoom. They're used to the old way where they had all the information.
All the control, all the...
They didn't have to be good. You had to go to them because they basically before the internet, they had the laws, they had the codes, they had everything, and you couldn't, YouTube how to do something.
So yeah, you pretty much had to rely. There's so much exposure and information. You can Google anything, and now at least I think that if at the very least it opens grounds for questioning, and yeah, that's gonna make anybody nervous. Anybody who's got old ways of doing things, and hasn't innovated. I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, so there's, I feel like there's, on the bottom end or the low end, there's the do-it-yourself, the software, where there's, if you look hard enough, there's free things, you can find where it's for free, but you're reliant on yourself
put it together.
Yeah, to fill in the blanks. And then you have the traditional attorney route, but sometimes the people, they want, there's not a good in-between options. And that's the space that I'm trying to fill with Mott Legal. Is my management company.
Okay.
So I created a company that manages Dana and Associates. This is following what I've learned from other businesses, studying really dental practice management companies is the model I copied for Mott Legal. Because there's laws. So part of the challenges with law firms is at least now you can't have a non-attorney own a law firm. You can't have a partner that's not an attorney if any of the activities are practicing law in that business.
Oh, they'll have to be licensed.
Yeah.
You said you brought it, so you're bringing in the management model from the dental industry.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting because usually, we have, entrepreneurs tend to have a tunnel vision, right? And we see something down the road and we stick to that track. And one of the things that I think is very helpful is to kind of step back from that and think lateral, instead of just up and down. Think lateral and then see things from different perspectives. I was just having a conversation about this not too long ago, but really diving into a different vertical, which has got nothing to do with your industry, but seeing the value in something like that and being able to apply that to your. That's outstanding in innovation. I think.
I feel like a lot of lawyers are small-minded. They look at, we can't do this because even though they solve a lot of problems, but it's interesting how a lot are caught up on that one law.
Right.
Now, in certain states, I think it's North Carolina is one I copied, but dentists have to be licensed. It's the same laws where you can't have a non-dentist own a dental practice. So the way they do it is they have a different company, a management company that manages the dental practice.
And you're bringing that model into your
so separating the practice of law all happens at Dana and Associates. So Mott Legal just does the management. So
what triggered the whole entrepreneurial spirit? What triggered that? It sounds like you've had it for a long time. And you went into it with the thought of improving the mousetrap, but what do you think was a catalyst for that? Because you jumped into something that people become attorneys and then they're well off for life. It's something that people do for a lifetime, right? And then we're talking about you jumping into different verticals. For example, management and trying to find gaps and stuff that's not working. That shows curiosity and an open mind, which is very different than what we get on a regular basis when you talk to an attorney.
Yeah.
So where would you say that came from?
Maybe part of it is just wanting to make my own rules. I guess you could say, just where. After studying the law and getting to know other attorneys, and I feel like they're limited at a certain point where it's like, here's all you can do because this is how it's always been done. I guess I got this sick of hearing that this is how it's been done, so this is how we're going to do it. It's like I'm open to new ideas if there's a better way to do it. So I guess just that over time, that's what led to the exit of the first business I was in, the family business. I had our whole office paperless. I was running one of our Mesa office right after I passed the bar in Arizona, And so I was already updating the systems and trying to improve things.
Revamp stuff coming in and
Yeah, it's like, hey, we don't need to print 3 copies of everything and keep all this paper around. Let's scan it all and we can have it a paperless system. And then it came back from the top later, don't do that, just stop doing it. Go back to the old way, because some of the people didn't understand it or they worried about other things. So it's like, okay, like
what kind of pushback are you getting? I'm curious, entrepreneur-wise, it's not easy to dive into something. I mean, into a set industry, right? Now it makes it less easy when you're diving into that industry and then you're trying to change stuff and create a shift within it. What kind of pushback are you getting?
I guess I'm trying to do it for my own law firm, I guess you could say. So I have, I exist as a small attorney, a small law firm owner. So I'm just trying to, figure out the tools I need to run my own estate planning business and what it takes. The plan for Mott Legal is I'm going to be launching software to allow other attorneys to use my same documents and to practice the same way. Kind of the pushback I get, though, is like, who are you? Like, how do you know this works? Because
credibility-wise.
I guess credibility. Like, hey, this is old, this is established, it's... everyone knows.
Everybody's okay.
Why would you question it?
Printing 3 pieces of paper for something.
Yeah, so that's part of it. From I guess kind of the older crowd or the people that I don't know. They see just all the traditional ways that you do things. First you do this, and you do this, and if it's kind of a different path, it's I don't know.
How would you say that the model that you're bringing in, or the way that you're shifting your company to operate, how would you say that's better than what's already existing, or what kind of problems were there that you came in to solve? I guess. Is what I'm trying to...
So I guess going back to old law firms. And it's relevant because it's that whole attitude and mindset. Before the internet, they didn't have to be good. And that kind of created the culture of law firms, where lawyers, where they really, sometimes they treat their staff like garbage.
You don't ask anything, I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, and there's kind of a power thing. And so I studied business management, and it seems like it's pretty simple. Just don't be an asshole. Just don't be mean to people is what it boils down to. But in the tradition of old law, it's like, this is how it is. Like if... I'm going to yell and scream if things blow up, or I don't know. They try to be overly dramatic sometimes. Maybe they watch too many lawyer movies, is what I say. Like if other attorneys get kind of colorful through things, it's like, chill out. This isn't the movies. This isn't. I don't know. So that's part of the culture where I guess I had to start my own firm to kind of prove that model. Like, hey, like you don't have to be a jerk to people. Like you don't have to ridicule, and you don't have to. Rule by fear. You can, the power of positivity is way more powerful, and the abundance mentality versus the scarcity. And again, with lawyers, we're always talking about the worst that can happen, for our clients.
Yeah.
That's part of the challenge. We have to tell people, all of the bad things that can happen. So sometimes it's hard to get out of that world and say, but look at all the good.
Yeah, stay positive amongst all this stuff that you have to bring out.
It's a calculated risk, and we know it's there, but we're going to... accept it because of all these reasons. So,
are you seeing an acceptance in terms of the clientele, like your clients, whenever, meaning that they feel somewhat refreshed when they come and then use your services versus the traditional standard, attorney setup?
Yes, we do. So one of the things I pride ourselves on is service. We try to deliver service. I mean, that's really all we are is service. Entity, our legal documents are the byproduct of what we do, but it's the service. So where that starts is when someone calls, how we treat them all the way throughout the process. So people really thank us for it. The best compliment we get is people say, "Oh, that was really easy. Or, you made that easy," or even through hard situations. So people do appreciate that, and I feel like this is part of the changing of law too, where there's kind of the shift of, maybe it's our marketing and other things, but finding those right clients. Because if you get the people that are, how much do you charge for a will? It's like,
the standard
you're
questions.
probably not our right person. Like our packages are comprehensive. We're not going to do just one thing.
Right.
We're gonna make sure you have a complete plan. So, but attracting those people that appreciate all of our services, and that's how law is changing. So one of my favorite books is The Lean Startup. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I read it a while back.
The basic premise is you build your beta, and maybe you're a little bit embarrassed of it, or you should be, just to get it out there.
80%.
Yeah, and start testing it.
Yeah.
And then see what works and see what doesn't. Because sometimes in our mind it's like, oh, this is going to be so cool. People are going to love this aspect of it, but maybe they don't. Maybe they like a different piece of it. Mm-hmm. So
now that you mentioned that book, the one thing that I vividly remember, and it's actually one of the things that I use on a regular basis. It's I had the tendency to want to perfection like everything down to a T before I launched. If I was setting up a new process, and I said perfection, I meant perfect. Yeah. But refine it and then work it and rework it and rework it and have it to 100%. And it's never, that never happens, especially when you're coming into something that's unbuilt.
Yeah.
So what I picked up from that book, which I thought was pretty badass, was build something to 80% and then launch it, and then see where that goes, come back and refine it with some data behind it.
Yeah.
And it's been a game changer.
Yeah, so like what I took away from that book, like I wrote down in my notes somewhere, he who learns the fastest wins. It's like win by learning faster. So if I have an idea, something I want to test, I'll start using it. Get the data, record it, and then
throw it out there, slap it, see what happens.
Yes, see what happens, and then if it's good, more of it. If it's bad, then hey, what did we learn from it? So.
Nice. How's your team like being on the receiving end of this, like the innovation and the difference between traditional attorney offices versus yours? How is the team coping with it?
Good question. And I'm thinking maybe they'd probably like it if I was just a traditional attorney, in the office every day, focused on building a traditional law firm. But I think they enjoy the innovation as well, and the excitement, I'll call it, meaning different ideas and different things. We talked about it at lunch the other day. I said, maybe I give them too many things that are in more the vision stage, the early ideas, and it kind of throws them off. Like, this guy's crazy.
Well, that can be hard to handle. Coming on from the perspective of the team, right? Whenever you're going into a company and things are set in place and you have broken down clear processes and everything. It's just easier to get into it. Trainability is easier and everything just kind of flows better. But when you're creating, when you're diving into something and stirring up some shit like you are, it's a different it's a different vibe. It's a different environment altogether.
Yeah, and I try to keep that excitement. One of our core values is empowerment. Like everyone, I want everyone to be improving, their personal selves as well. Yeah. But I always want to be improving what we're doing. So I feel like they do appreciate that aspect to it. That I really challenge them. I mean it. I want them to be their best selves. And just have their best personal success, whatever that means to them. Because that's ultimately what will lead to the best business too.
Right.
So
you can't grow. Win-win. You can't grow anything if it's by yourself. It took a long time for me to process that piece of information, but if you empower those around you, they're going to come at you with ideas. They're going to come at you with ways of refining stuff and maybe making the process or the whole experience easier and more bearable.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the best ideas with the company are not my ideas directly. Maybe something I say, or maybe I get one thing out there that leads to the next thing.
Yeah.
So, but
it's super cool that you see it that way. That you're open to having that conversation and actually like pulling in the talent of your team.
Yeah. Another book that I really like too, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, I
classic.
love that book. Yeah, classic.
I just finished that one again recently, but he talks about the mastermind in there. How you get other people, and you try to kind of connect and share. But I really value their experience. Like I have all different areas of life and all different experiences.
Right.
So I can say, here's what I'm thinking. Here's my concerns. What do you think? And then get all the different angles and perspectives.
Yeah, it's well, you get the perspectives, you get the experience, and an overall point of view that's different of yours. But when you bring people in, they take that vested interest in whatever it is that you're doing. And when that happens, you don't only get that person and what they know, you also have a reach for like their network. They're gonna come to work or to whatever the project is, and then they're gonna go the extra mile. So you have, that much more of potential effort coming into it when somebody's just taken into account.
Yeah, I love it when people bring me ideas.
Yeah.
They're like, I was thinking about this. It's just like, oh, that is so great. Like, I love that you were thinking about it. I love that you were, just wanting to improve it and that you were excited about it.
I like to, when I have meetings, and we have performance meetings on a weekly basis, but when I have meetings, I like to walk into it with the idea of asking as many questions as the rest. So I'll be the one asking, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Even if it's something that I built and it's a set protocol, set process, I'll ask, do you see any gaps? Do you see anything that could potentially make it better?
Let's tear it apart together here internally. And
many times as developers or business owners, developers of the process, like a lot of the stuff that I do, I'll be based on theory, right? So I've had a bunch of experience in the different positions, but sometimes you have to fill in the gap just with theory. And okay, I think this would work good this way, and then you give it to somebody to implement, maybe like a simple process, maybe something like that. But once they take it and run with it, they're gonna find out stuff that you didn't think about when you were putting stuff like that together, especially when you're trying to kind of reshape the ball of wax that's in front of you in a whole different industry. So yeah, kudos, man. I like that you're bringing in the talent of the team and lifting each other up that way.
Yeah, it's been fun. We've created several different processes from the way I learned this business, but things have evolved just using that process. Like, there's certain issues come up, by evaluating and getting the different perspectives. Sometimes you're not aware of how, a different area of the process affects a different area.
Right, ripple effects. It's hard to foretell what the ripple effects are going to end up doing. So what does your business structure looks like right now on a regular basis? You come in and then you have the practice and then you have the management. Is that two standalone businesses that you're running, or?
Yeah, they're kind of they're two standalone businesses, but right now Mott Legal's only client is Dana and Associates, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's really just Dana and Associates still, but I've pushed people out to that Mott Legal entity as a way to be able to scale and make offers to other attorneys. So most of my operation is in my Mesa office. That's where all the Mott Legal team is, which is our paralegals, receptionists, and other people. I have an office in Chandler where we meet clients on South Kyrene by the 202 down there. And I just signed a lease recently for an office in Scottsdale. It's kind of on the edge of Scottsdale, Tempe, Phoenix, if that makes sense. 70th Street in Thomas. So those are satellite locations. So on Wednesdays we have our team meeting. That's that mastermind that I described. We do that in the morning. I meet with my paralegals after that and review all the cases. And today's Thursday, so this morning I was in the Mesa office again, finishing reports, meaning after I meet a client or a phone call, I'll do a report and put it into our system, which is Clio. It tells everyone what's happening. And that
so
defines
everybody
the task.
taps into the whole, one single point of reference for.
Yeah. I've heard you guys talk about Podio on here, the real estate guys. And I don't know if that's similar. But this show has motivated me to update my tasks and processes. But
Awesome,
Clio is what we
cool.
use to to tell everyone what their job is. And you set tasks, for someone to scan everything,
Accountability wise.
Yeah, so everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's a game changer when you're able to remove all the bottlenecks, have high accountability for the people, and then have a clear layout of the whole, what the whole process of what the operation is. It's after that point, I mean, it almost becomes like a plug and play kind of deal.
Yeah.
So.
What's really cool, I've been in the legal industry long enough where I remember what it's like before the paperless. It's really cool that the technology exists to practice this way, where I have all my my operating system is cloud-based. So everyone that does their notes, if someone calls or if I have a phone call scheduled, I can see everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Either on my phone if I just want to look there on the app, or have my computer out or whatever it is.
It's crazy, but if you look at the big spectrum of things, that stuff was impossible 10 years ago. At least not affordable 10 years ago.
Yeah, you had to have servers, remote access in.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how the leaps that technology, affordability, and accessibility has made or have made throughout even the last decade. Man, it's insane. It's crazy. But I completely I had all kinds of logistical issues on my previous company. I had started my first company in 2007, and I mean it was completely different. I wish I had some of the resources that we have now. It would have gotten rid of 80% of the headaches back then.
Yeah.
Not tapping into stuff that's gonna potentially just create that flow within your business. It's crazy. I mean I don't see why run it the old way when all this stuff is accessible.
Yeah, and that's what's really changing the law practice too. Companies like Clio exist where attorneys can use it all. And
do you think that it's sorry to barge in. I had a thought that popped up. So do you think that it's going to be one of those industries where people either get on board with innovation, catching up with technology and all the new changes and how fast everything is growing, or they're going to be left behind?
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%. Why am I interested in this? Because people are there's going to be a point, and I've seen part of it from 15 years ago. Attorneys were like, oh, websites, yeah, maybe I should have gotten one of those.
Oh yeah.
And that was after they lost their one client, and then now they are trying to figure out how to market themselves and get into the industry. There's a lot of exciting things happening. In Arizona, you can now do an electronic will. I don't think it's a good idea for a lot of reasons. But just the way technology is evolving, you can also, starting July in Arizona, you can do an electronic notary, which I think is really cool, actually. So
yeah, I think that's going to help.
I think it's going to change the game as far as the way legal services are. You're just the electronic notary. Instead of come into my office, look at my books, look at.
Well, I know for a fact that if that comes through, I mean, it's gonna save you $150 on every real estate transaction because we usually get mobile notaries for it.
Yeah. So I went to a CLE recently, continuing legal education. We have to do 15 hours a year. I'm licensed Arizona, California, Nevada, so I have to report all those. But I love going to those, not just for the information. I feel like whatever the topic is about 10% of why I go, but I love the crowd, watching the reaction. Seeing people oh my gosh, this is the dumbest thing ever. And especially in estate planning, there's a lot of older people in it where they don't want to change with the industry. So they're thinking, oh, cryptocurrency, that's stupid, that'll never happen, I'm not going to learn this. And there's a lot of misinformation among lawyers among some of those topics. But I think I love the blockchain. It's one of my favorite topics because I feel like the legal industry, it's going to be done through the blockchain.
What is the blockchain?
Let's see if I can describe it. But it's a technology that makes cryptocurrency possible, like Bitcoin. So blockchain is a ledger system where it allows to authenticate a different user, authenticate anonymous users, and also execute transactions. So it allows computers to execute transactions, which is a little scary if you describe it that way.
There's no meaning that there's no no formal bank in the middle. It's just the
protocol. Then that. You can program it into
Getting rid of the middleman.
Yeah, get rid of the middleman.
That's
so,
crazy.
Instead of relying on contracts to say, here's what you should do, I see the blockchain as a way to just automatically do it. Once you decide what you want to have happen, that will execute it. So we're absolutely going to see that in some way. It's going to affect everything, the blockchain.
It's bound to. Productivity-wise, it's just one of those things that and I think it's happening in the economy, altogether. It's either you get on board of the trends, the changes, and the new challenges, or you're gonna go dark.
Yeah. So, and I think that's exciting in our world because things are changing just faster and faster as things evolve. So it's
you have a very, very cool way to approach the legal world. It's because you almost, you think like an entrepreneur. You work like an attorney, but you have the curiosity of some of a creator. So it's a pretty cool combination to see it all come to to fruition in one single space. It goes to show that you're running your legal practice, and then you saw a gap, a need, and you said, all right, I'm going to put this together because it makes sense management wise, and then plug that in. So I think that's going to be, it's definitely. And I don't know a lot about the legal industry, but from this side of the table, it looks like you have some of the core elements in play for it to come in and then be a big hit. So nice, man.
It's fun. I use the analogy of Legos a lot. Just see what you can build. Just start grabbing pieces and then see what you learn through different experiences and see what else is possible and what's coming.
That's awesome. So speaking of building, how do you build yourself mindset wise? What are your, for example, your non-negotiables? Do you have a morning routine that you go off of? We were when you walked in, you were just at a cryo therapy session. So I don't know.
I did a little cryo before this. That's something I like to do. Cryotherapy, just like a quick refresh. As far as morning routine and mindset. Napoleon Hill's, Think and Grow Rich is one of those books that really affected me. Whatever the mind can believe, it can achieve. And, just that power of thoughts in the mind. I would say part of that led me to meditation and then guided meditation with, we talked about Al, we both use the same mental coach, where I watched about 5 or 6 of your episodes before that came up. And it's like, no wonder I like this guy. It's like, I feel like we have a lot in common.
He's a life changer.
But so morning routine. So I've incorporated about a 10-minute guided visualization in there, and that's been a game changer as a way to kind of go within. Is how I look at it. A way to pause and take some time for myself. The way I was always so busy, I still am. You kind of get caught into I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. If I had more time, I would do this. And I feel like, if you don't have 10 minutes a day for yourself, it's like, what kind of life are you living? Like that's if you can't give yourself that, you got to make some serious choices or serious evaluations.
I think it's also one of those things. Speaking of self-care, right? I think it's one of those things that sometimes. Or I used to not see it as a top priority, as something like, all right, cool, I don't have time to sit down right now because I want to knock this out. I want to process this. I want to, send that email and make this call or do, But if you don't set up your day from the get-go, in my experience, it's really, really hard to, you just end up trying to catch up to the day as opposed to actually leading it.
Yeah,
and that's the easiest, comparison that I can make to having at least some type of structure that can get
or I feel like I would get lost maybe, if you will. Like I wouldn't be connected to my own energy as much. You get caught up in the other things, and but it's.
Especially with all the volatility that we deal with. It's things are never the same. Every day is different when you're an entrepreneur. when you're building stuff, when you're putting together different things and looking at different visions and working on your vision board and then growing as a person and trying to tackle this, trying to tackle that. Every day is going to be different, and there's got to be something that keeps you grounded. For me, it's just working on myself in the mornings.
Yeah. So that meditation, game changer. Try to stay active. Try to work out and do something physical, because I realize that's not just it's not just about feeling great. That's what leads to more business productivity.
Right.
And all those things are connected. So trying to eat better. I've incorporated just I call it a power shake in the morning. So I try to make sure I get some just good nutrition in the morning.
What's in the power shake? I'm curious.
Usually just like protein, some greens, maybe some mushrooms, and just
it works.
Yeah, just that way I'm getting something good at least to start the day.
Right.
Something good in my body. And then when I do that, I'm more conscious about lunch, because I'm not just starving or not just wanting to eat the first thing. It's all right, what's going to be some good fuel that's going to make me have a productive afternoon, or make me get ready for my workout in the afternoon, or on really good days, make me get ready for a surf in the afternoon or a hike or whatever it is that I want to do. So just the food and exercise as well.
So are those non-negotiables? Is that stuff that you not? There are certain things that
I'll eat all the junk too and everything.
No, but I mean, there's certain, like, for example, there's certain stuff that I hardly ever, and I say hardly ever because sometimes I drop the ball. Yeah. But I hardly ever walk out of my house before I do those. They're non-negotiables. They're just stuff that I really want to. That I take, that I consider at high level.
My morning routine, at least the meditation, and I'll be 10 minutes late somewhere. and get
for that, it's worth it.
And it's like I got to, I feel like I'll never show up at all. Is kind of how I view it. So it's,
right.
I got to take that time for myself to get centered and get focused.
How with everything that goes around you and being in a solid old school type of industry, and then creating all that noise with new stuff, how do you approach change and challenges and growth, actually?
Growth, I guess, just looking for opportunities, and then I guess trying to be realistic on what's actually working. And sometimes you gotta kind of maybe humble yourself, or I'll mention Al again. He's the service that he provides is like a reflection back in. I feel like it's a moment to just someone that holds me accountable. So if anyone can do this with a friend or whatever it is someone say, hey, you know what, is this actually working? Or here's what you are wanting to get. Are you actually getting that? So I think just being accountable and.
Do you have I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting too technical here, but a process or something that goes through your mind or through your head whenever you have a big bright idea, like when we get hit by, oh, that looks like a really good idea, let's see how that pans out. Do you usually roll with it, or do you sit down and kind of play it, lay it out first and see how it goes, or what's your approach on something like that?
Like if I just have an idea, I'll write a lot of emails to myself.
Really?
Is part of it, where I'll just kind of get some notes down on it, or I'll write it in a notebook. And I like to physically write sometimes, because you can actually see it later. And then if I come back to it later, or if it kind of grabs more, then maybe I'll come back to it. And what I love about what I do, as far as the being a probate attorney, I get to see a lot of different people, all types of people. So maybe I'll take one of those ideas if it's relevant to if they might appreciate it, and kind of test it off them. Like, hey, what are your thoughts about this? Or
plug it in,
what do you think about this? And maybe with my office too, I'll test ideas on them. Like, hey, what do you think about this? And just see what kind of what seems interesting. My concern right now is the shiny objects. Maybe that's kind of what you're mentioning too. It's like I don't want to chase. I don't want to get distracted with other things. So I'm trying to stay focused on the Dana and Associates, the estate planning, but building all the systems for that Mott Legal can use. Focused on my systems and processes. Right now, there's a couple other businesses that I'm doing with Pace probably, but related to this industry, related to real estate, or related to my to the ways that I help people. So this year, in the new year, I set an intention. I went to like a workshop of setting an intention, and but the intention I set was I'm a powerful leader building wealth with love. So
it's a strong statement.
It is a strong statement, something that I feel like I'm, trying to step into, something that I'm manifesting it and wanting to step into it. But part of that, building the wealth. I've been chasing these other ideas, other things, but it's time to stay focused and really just kind of let my businesses work for myself and not try to chase these other distractions.
How are you accomplishing that? I mean, because we tend to be naturally unfocused, and see shiny objects everywhere, and then next thing you know, like 2 weeks went by. How do you stay focused on the most important task or the stuff that you're supposed to be doing right now?
It's a challenge, I'll say. So I have my calendar through Clio where it schedules all my law firm activities, and what I try to do is schedule myself some time, some space for those different activities. Because if I'm doing one thing for too long, if I'm meeting clients solid for 3 days and back to back 5 to 8 meetings a day, like I'll go kind of crazy. It's like I want my own time to think. Instead of being I enjoy meeting the people, but for too long being in someone else's, in everyone else's things. So giving myself some time, I call it blocks of time is what we try to shoot for on the calendar, where I'll have a block, which is about like a 3-hour block. Because to get into legal projects too, it's like I need to actually, get in there and have some focus and get everything out and have the time to, get a project done. But I'll do, every week I try to have one block in the office. So during that block, I can be available for internal things, which like the estate planning cases and probates my paralegals are working on. So I can, solve problems as needed. And then one block out of the office, either at my home office or away from the Mesa office, where I'm free from distractions. And that's time to work on the business, as opposed to when I'm in the office, I'm working in the business on my legal cases. On the business is more of the the marketing systems, business operations.
That's a very good. Actually, it's a very good strategy. It's a very good way to stay focused. I use the same thing. I use time blocks for my day. I have 4 or 5 different ones, and they're all labeled. I used to do tasks. I still do tasks, but I used to do try to focus on the amount of tasks that I had to knock out for the day. Got to do this, and that. Next thing you know, they're maybe 4 or 5 of them are not related, but they're back to back. So you end up switching trains of thought and that sort of thing. And then I started opening it up just for time blocks. So I have a time block for prospecting. I have another time block for creating. I have another time block, for health and fitness, and just kind of building those time blocks. So it made so much sense.
The challenge can be though when it's like, all right, creative time, ready, go.
Right.
It's like, okay, it's
sit down and be creative.
It's like, all right, okay, be creative. Or then your other blocks, it's like, oh, you got to do this. And
that
it's
one,
like, oh, I want to be.
That one, it's very interesting. So it's actually I have a 5 a.m. from 5 to 6. I connect. So that's my meditation time. I don't meditate the whole time, but I know that's my time to do it. So if I miss out on that time block, meditation is out the window.
You're on to the next one.
Yeah, I'm on to the next one. Otherwise, I lose track of the day, and then I start chasing behind, after the day. So I'll run my day like that up until 6.
What's your next block?
So after meditation or connection, I create creative time. I'm good at writing in the morning.
Like another hour, you'll give yourself.
I do from 6 to 8. And maybe I don't use the whole 2 hours and sit actually there and then do the whole thing. But I know
you
that's
roll straight
my time
out of bed and then meditate.
Yeah, that's
it takes me a while to get going.
No,
I'm not a good
bro,
early riser. I'm like,
if I wait 30 minutes, I start thinking about all kinds of shit in my head, and then the wheels just start turning.
Yeah. In the morning, nothing turns for me. I get up and it's just nothing.
Yeah, that's the best time for me to meditate. I sit there and I don't fall asleep, but I'll just kind of have.
Do you sit on the ground or what?
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
cross-legged.
Yeah, I have a home office. I do it in there. Sometimes I'll do it in the backyard and whatnot. Just
Feel the sun.
yeah, for that
Get
fresh
lit.
air.
That's what I call it. Feel the sun in the morning. It's a
Connect.
nice way to start the day.
Connect.
Yeah.
So but it works. Like it's when I do that kind of stuff, I feel a lot better by 10 a.m. Because my morning is it's for me. So I'll do that between 5 and 6, and then 6 to 8 I'll do creativity. So anything that I wrote a book during that time block last year, and it's almost ready to publish and whatnot. But it happened during those 2 hours in the morning.
Yeah, because you gave yourself that time.
Yeah, exactly. So and then have some of that time I go drop off the kids at school and then do that sort of thing from 8 to 10. I'll use that time for fitness. So that's when I work out. That's when I call it fitness and growth. So I'll listen to podcasts, listen to all that stuff while I'm working out, and I'll squeeze that in there. So by 10 a.m. I've done like the self-care, so many things. And I already scratched the itch on creating stuff that I wanted to create. Not necessarily they're not going to monetize right now or whatnot, but it's my creativity.
Sometimes you just got to scratch that itch. That's a good way to put it, because until you explore it, like it's in there, like it's wanting to get out.
Yeah, exactly. And I hardly ever, like outside the time blocks, I hardly have anything. Like if I get to my creativity time or creative time, and like I hardly ever have like a space out. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what to do. Like no, I always like that space is always filled in with something else. So yeah, and then I have like productivity wise, I do from 12 to 6. That's meetings and cold calling or prospecting and the actual taskiness of the businesses. I squeeze it into that big time block. By 6 p.m. I try to disconnect and that sort of thing. Yeah. So, but like that way. Because I do suffer from the shiny object syndrome as well. I mean that to me makes it all make sense.
You actually got to fit it in your blocks, and it's got to be.
Like, all right, cool. At least I'm gonna commit to running the day through some blocks. On the morning routine side, and then on the professional side, and then disconnect the 6, and then you're gonna be do whatever else. But
yeah, that's good. I can get better on my morning routine.
Yeah.
Some days I plug back in at night, but then it's hard to unplug is the challenge. It's good to take the clock out and reset.
Do you feel like I felt like it got old when I had set stuff? Like for example, I would always if I had something, I'm gonna meditate, and then after meditation, I'm gonna do a walk. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. So when I already knew what was gonna happen, for the rest of the month, it kind of became boring and dull. So when I started doing the time blocks, I can switch it up because I don't have to do the same thing. It's just my time to do something related to whatever that time block is, and that to me kind of keeps it still.
You're not forced into a schedule.
Yeah,
you get some choices in there.
It's dynamic enough that it doesn't bore me, but it's still within a structure that doesn't, fuck it all up, and then I lose track of the day.
Yeah, that's good.
So nice, awesome, dude. What is besides? I mean, we kind of touched on this, and going back to the industry, what is the biggest problem that you're seeing right now in your industry?
Biggest problem in my industry, I feel like just running a law firm, running a small law firm, where the bigger, older, established law firms are able to, charge, kind of a high enough fee, and then you have the bottom end where people think, what they can get things for online, and there's so many people in that race for the bottom is what I call it, where they're doing services for so low that it's not sustainable as an attorney. Where like I'll see people charging, probates for like $2,500. Where our fees usually at least double that, but I'm like, how can these guys do that and last? And they don't. You see them for a little bit, and then they don't last. So I say the challenge is kind of finding that sweet spot where you're able to charge a fair fee, make a decent living, pay your team well, and finding that sweet spot in between.
Well, you're definitely addressing that through the management company.
Yeah, that's cool. The goals, and making some good progress there. So it's exciting.
Nice. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years or so? business-wise?
Next 3 to 5 years, so I'd like to be working on the management side more, where I have other attorneys practicing through Mott Legal, using the same digital asset trust that we do, which is kind of our niche, so you can plan what happens to like the pictures on your phone and things like that. So I'd like to be involved kind of in a coaching role. I've been inspired by Pace lately and his private group. Are you a member there?
Yeah, he has that effect on people. Guy's insane.
Yeah, but how he's sharing and created a community there. I would like to do that for lawyers, where I create a place to have conversations in a private space.
Yeah.
I just sent Pace a video. I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, all this is recorded forever and like evidence. So that's like the thing with lawyers as your clientele. Like, if I say, hey guys, come on Facebook, and it's like, I'm not gonna share anything there or even create.
It's a different level of liability what you guys have. So.
Yeah. So next 3 to 5 years, I'd like to embrace that more, where I want to empower other lawyers. And I'm really passionate about this because it's not just my own journey where I guess found my way out. I found a better way, outside of the negative types of old school law firms.
Right.
And I found a way to do what I want. There's a lot of people that aren't happy. It's kind of sad, right? They're forced into a life because they feel like they don't have other options. Mm-hmm. So I want to help people, I guess, free themselves and create their own lives. And so that's the next 3 to 5 years. So using my skills as a probate attorney and branching out from that.
Awesome. So if you were, I mean, you've shared a bunch of great information. If you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what would you ask that? Or I'm sorry, what would you tell that kid? What kind of advice would you give?
I like this question you ask other people. And I thought about it a few different times after watching your show. And I probably had a few different answers, in my mind, like what I would tell myself.
Get it out. It can't be more than one.
I didn't plan for it today, actually, as we were coming in. But I think what I would tell myself then is, it's just a fucking game. Go play it.
On point, man.
So... I'd have to say fuck. Sorry, Mom. But just try to shake up a little bit and realize. I feel like the biggest change for me as well when I kind of realized that, hey, I'm smarter than these other attorneys. You have to be realistic. But I would go to different CLEs and roundtable, and the types of common question these experience that the leaders in the industry had. Where I was like, oh my gosh,
is that really being asked right now? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it made me realize, oh my gosh, it's just a game, and they're just got to get out there and play it. Everyone's just playing their best hand and just doing the best they can.
I love it, man. It's just a fucking game. Go play it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you stopping by and then spending some time with us, giving us a whole bunch of insight on a totally different industry. It's definitely changed the way that I see the powerhouses in the legal world. So I love what you're doing. I think it's really cool, and it's a very different approach to what the normal standard out there is. So kudos for that, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So if somebody wants to find you, where do we find you?
My personal Instagram is Rilus D, RILUS-D, and then that has links to my business is danalegalhelp.com. Is my probate business. I'm still adjusting mottlegal.com. That site exists, but it's kind of not reflective of our current vision. So those are the best places.
Cool. Awesome, dude. Well, once again, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it, bro.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
There you guys have it. Rilus Dana here, dropping the golden nuggets on the legal industry world. So catch you on the next one. You just got a backstage pass to the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and iTunes, and check out our website at ceopulse.com. Stay tuned, stay focused, you got this.